August 1944. The Allied forces have ripped through German defenses in France with a speed and ferocity few had imagined possible. General George Patton's Third Army is surging eastward like a force of nature, advancing at a pace that astonishes both allies and enemies, sometimes 30, 40, even 50 miles in a single day. It is a breathtaking display of armored warfare and coordination, a testament to Patton's aggressive leadership and the relentless momentum of the Allied advance. Yet beneath the glory of this rapid push lies a problem that threatens to undo it all. The supply lines, the invisible arteries of war, are stretched to the breaking point. The Army's logistical network, once adequate, now groans under the weight of its own inadequacy. Each Sherman tank guzzles 5 gallons of fuel per mile, a relentless, unforgiving thirst, and every infantry division demands an astonishing 650 tons of provisions each day, including ammunition, rations, medical equipment, spare parts, and the myriad necessities that make a modern army function. Without these supplies, no soldier can fight, no tank can roll, no artillery can fire. The port of Cherbourg, still laboriously repaired after deliberate German demolitions, is capable of handling only a fraction of the tonnage needed to sustain this advance. Antwerp, the next major deep-water port, remains months away from operational readiness. The practical consequence is stark. Every single item required to feed, fuel, and arm the Third Army must be trucked overland from the Normandy beaches, a grueling 350-mile journey along roads shattered by retreating German forces. Bridges lie in ruins, rail lines are destroyed, and every mile traveled is a battle against terrain as much as the enemy. At Supreme Headquarters, logistics officers pore over charts, tables, and projections that stubbornly refuse to add up. Patton's tanks are literally running dry. Trucks are grinding to a halt. The Third Army's astonishing speed has become its own enemy, a classic case of operational success colliding headlong with logistical reality. In one single week, frontline units report having just 3 days' worth of ammunition. Some tank battalions are immobilized entirely, not by enemy fire, but by empty fuel tanks. The tension is palpable during a briefing on August 21st, when Colonel Frank Ross, Chief of Transportation, delivers the numbers to General Dwight D. Eisenhower. "Sir," he says, "we're losing 23% of our supplies before they even reach the front." He lays out the grim calculus. Trucks wrecked in accidents, Luftwaffe strafing attacks, engines and transmissions failing mid-convoy, supplies scattered across the French countryside. If Patton halts, the Germans will regroup. If he pushes forward without adequate fuel and ammunition, the army risks collapse. The stakes could not be higher. Eisenhower leans over the map, tracing the red line marking the German border with a finger, his brow furrowed. "How long to fix this?" he asks aloud. The answer is daunting. Weeks, possibly months, to redesign convoy systems, to erect proper maintenance depots, to train additional personnel. "We don't have weeks," he mutters to himself. The Wehrmacht is retreating, but every day wasted allows them to regroup, to dig in behind the Siegfried Line, where winter will amplify the horrors of combat. He scans the room full of officers and planners. "I need solutions in days, gentlemen. Days, not months." The meeting adjourns with no immediate answers, leaving a tense, almost tangible anxiety hanging over the room. 90 miles from headquarters, Technical Sergeant Raymond Kowalski sits in the cab of his GMC Jimmy truck, staring at the smoldering remains of another convoy. 8 trucks have overturned, their steel frames twisted and blackened by fire, supplies scattered across the roadside like debris from a nightmare. A Luftwaffe strafing run caught them clustered together on a narrow tree-lined road, vulnerable, stationary, and exposed. Kowalski is 34, a long-haul trucker from Pittsburgh with a lifetime of experience navigating treacherous mountain roads in every imaginable weather condition. Before the war, he hauled steel, coal, and other heavy freight across Pennsylvania, dodging ice, fog, and the ever-present risk of disaster. He has no military pedigree, no fancy academy training, just years of hands-on experience, of knowing how metal and machinery respond under stress. Drafted in 1943, Kowalski underwent 2 weeks of Army driver training and was shipped to the European theater. Now, he watches men die needlessly because those in command do not understand the fundamental realities of trucking. Lighting a cigarette, he recalls words his old dispatcher in Pittsburgh once told him. "Convoys are for show. The profit's in the spacing." The wisdom seems almost prophetic here in wartime France. Tightly packed convoys make for perfect targets. Before we continue, if you're captivated by the untold stories of ingenuity that shaped history, hit subscribe. 75% of viewers aren't subscribed, and you're missing stories like this every week. Tales of courage, innovation, and desperate ingenuity in the face of impossible odds. The Red Ball Express, the code name for this emergency supply operation, is officially bound by strict convoy doctrine. Trucks move in formations of 20 or more, spaced 60 yards apart, at speeds no greater than 25 miles per hour. The idea is simple: strength in numbers, safety in collective movement. Kowalski has driven 6 such convoys in the past 2 weeks. Every single one has suffered casualties, from overturned vehicles to enemy fire. Yet the real danger often begins long before the Luftwaffe appears. 20 trucks clustered together on a rural road form a target visible from miles away. When the lead vehicle spots aircraft, the entire convoy halts. Trucks at the front are trapped by those behind. Trucks at the rear cannot maneuver around those ahead. The spacing designed to ensure safety instead produces a perfect kill zone. Kowalski notices another, subtler pattern. On August 23rd, his convoy is held up at a depot for 6 hours as trucks are loaded at uneven speeds. A few impatient drivers leave as soon as their cargo is ready, traveling independently rather than waiting for the convoy to assemble. They arrive safely at the Ford supply dump, every single one. Meanwhile, the official convoy Kowalski eventually joins suffers losses. 3 trucks are destroyed in a single attack by an FW-90. He begins tracking the results meticulously. Trucks traveling alone or in pairs, staggered over hours instead of bunched together, are almost impossible for German aircraft to target effectively. A single truck is not worth the fuel and ammunition expenditure for an attack. A convoy of 20? That is a prize worth diving on. The math is stark. A 20-truck convoy equals 1 target. 20 trucks staggered across 4 hours equal 20 separate hunting missions. The Germans have finite aircraft, finite pilots, finite fuel. Kowalski runs the numbers in his notebook. Conventional convoys experience roughly 23% losses due to accidents, attacks, and mechanical failures. Independent trucks, by contrast, lose less than 3%. On August 25th, he presents his findings to Captain Dennis Hayes. "Sir, I think I can reduce our supply losses by 90%. Hayes surveys the dusty, oil-stained trucker before him and utters words that will echo through military logistics for decades. "Kowalski, you're a goddamn truck driver. Leave the tactics to people who went to West Point." The official rejection arrives in writing. Hayes forwards Kowalski's proposal up the chain. Enlisted man suggests abandoning convoy doctrine. Recommend dismissal. Battalion headquarters responds immediately. Deviating from convoy procedure risks communication breakdowns, eliminates mutual support, and violates tactical protocol. Denied, Kowalski laughs bitterly. Tactical protocol. He's been driving trucks longer than most of these staff officers have been alive. Yet they lecture him on the proper way to move supplies. He refuses to give up. On August 27th, he approaches Lieutenant Colonel Martin Burgess, Deputy Operations Officer of the Transportation Corps. Burgess listens 10 minutes, nods respectfully, then shakes his head. "Ray, even if you're correct, what if a truck breaks down? No escort, no backup. These roads still harbor bypassed German units. Convoy security isn't just about air attacks." Kowalski counters, calm and precise. "Sir, we're losing a quarter of our supplies in convoys meant to be safe. I'll take my chances alone." Burgess sighs. "It's not just your chance. It's Army property, strategic material." There is tension in the room, thick enough to feel. I respect initiative, but this isn't a peacetime trucking company. There are reasons for procedure. August 28th. Kowalski presents his data at a driver briefing. The room erupts. "You want us all killed individually?" One shouts. "At least in convoys, we have support." Even fellow drivers think he's reckless. But three men quietly take notice. PFC James Booker, a driver from Detroit's auto factories, and Corporals Eddie Martinez and Willie Jackson. They privately pledge their support if the method ever receives approval. It seems pointless. August 29th, Colonel Ross reviews the proposal. Denied. Unauthorized deviation from convoy protocol is prohibited. Any driver operating outside convoy parameters will face court-martial. The Army has spoken. Kowalski's plan is dead. Except someone is paying attention. August 30th, Lieutenant General Walter Bedell Smith, Eisenhower's Chief of Staff, is sleepless. The supply crisis is critical. Patton has been halted, not by German opposition, but by empty fuel tanks. The British 21st Army Group is rationing ammunition. Time is slipping. Smith reads everything, including every report from the motor pools, including the dismissed proposal from the truck driver in Pennsylvania. He storms into Colonel Ross's office. Kowalski's individual dispatch proposal. Why was it rejected? Ross falters. "Sir, it violates convoy doctrine." "I read the doctrine. I'm asking why a quarter of supplies are lost." "Casualties are within expected parameters." Smith's gaze is ice. "Expected parameters? Patton's army is immobilized because we accept expected parameters. Get me that sergeant." 2 hours later, Kowalski faces 3 colonels and a lieutenant general in a cramped headquarters tent. Diesel smell clings to his coveralls. He hasn't shaved in 2 days. Smith wastes no time. "Sergeant, explain your method." "Assume I know nothing about trucking." Kowalski inhales deeply. "Sir, the Germans can't strike what they cannot predict. Currently, 20 truck convoys depart on schedule. The Luftwaffe knows the times, the routes, the speeds. They lie in wait." He opens his battered notebook. "If trucks are loaded immediately upon readiness and dispatched at staggered intervals, the Germans never know when or where to strike. 20 trucks bunched in a quarter mile, destroyed in a single attack. 20 trucks spread across 60 miles over 3 hours? Impossible to target. Every detail matters. Every truck counts. The fate of Patton's advance, and possibly the war, depends on it." The room is silent, the tension thick, the logic undeniable. It's the ingenuity of a single trucker against the inertia of military tradition, a clash that will reshape the lifelines of war forever. "What about breakdowns?" Colonel Ross interrupts, his voice tight with frustration. "And enemy ground forces?" Kowalski leans forward slightly, his gaze calm but unwavering. "Same solution as now, sir. We still run escort jeeps along the patrol routes. But here's the difference. One broken-down truck doesn't halt the other 19, and a bypassed German unit might ambush a single truck. But in a convoy, that same unit could ambush 20 at once." The room falls into a tense, almost reverent silence. Smith studies the numbers Kowalski has meticulously tracked over weeks of observation. Conventional convoys suffer 23% losses. Independent trucks, dispatched in staggered intervals, drop that figure to just 3%. The dataset is small, admittedly, but the trend is undeniable. Ross opens his mouth, ready to argue, pointing out that this is anecdotal evidence from a handful of tests. But Smith cuts him off. "Sergeant Kowalski," Smith declares, his voice crisp, unwavering, "you will conduct a trial operation. 1 week, 20 trucks under your dispatch method. If losses remain below 10%, we implement it system-wide." Ross's face flushes red with incredulity. "Sir," he warns, "if this fails, I'll take full responsibility. But if it succeeds, and we didn't try it, that failure is mine as well." Smith nods, looking directly at Kowalski. "You've got your chance, Sergeant. Don't waste it." September 1st, 1944. The sun has just begun to lift over the horizon, casting a pale gold across the Allenson Supply Depot. Kowalski stands among a line of 20 trucks ready for loading, each vehicle gleaming with oil, diesel residue, and the heavy weight of wartime purpose. This is his moment, his singular opportunity. If it fails, lives will be lost, and he will face the stockade for reckless insubordination. If it succeeds, he may save thousands of men and secure the momentum of Patton's advance. Under the traditional convoy system, all 20 trucks would wait for every vehicle to be loaded, a painstaking process often taking 4 to 6 hours. Only then would they roll out together, formations fixed at 60 yards apart, crawling at 25 mm along roads scarred by retreating German forces. Delivery to forward supply dumps required 14 hours of careful, regimented driving. From arrival at the depot to delivery, the total operation consumed roughly 20 hours. Kowalski's method is revolutionary in its simplicity. The first truck finishes loading at around 600 hours. "You're gone." "Route 7, standard speed, independent operation," he instructs. The driver hesitates, nervous, but obeys, rolling out immediately. The second truck leaves at 6:18, the third at 6:33, and so on. By 1100, all 20 trucks have departed, each following his instructions. Instead of a single massed convoy, 20 trucks are spread across 90 miles of road, moving at optimal speeds suited to the terrain rather than rigidly enforced convoy regulations. He also changes the speed rules. No longer are drivers forced to crawl at 25 mph. You know these roads. Drive what's safe. If it's 40, run 40. If it's 30, run 30, he tells them. For seasoned drivers, this freedom is both terrifying and exhilarating. Transportation Corps observers take notes with grim faces. Colonel Ross's deputy repeatedly scribbles violations: speed limits exceeded, convoy organization abandoned, single vehicle operations in a declared combat zone. But the results speak louder than any protest. Trucks begin arriving at forward supply dumps faster than ever before. The first vehicle reaches the 3rd Army Depot at 18:30 hours, 12.5 hours from departure, nearly 90 minutes ahead of convoy averages. The last truck reaches UWM at 0:45 the next morning. All 20 trucks complete deliveries. 0 losses, 0 enemy attacks, 1 minor breakdown, a flat tire, resolved by the driver without delaying the others. The Luftwaffe notices 3 trucks during the run. But hunting a single vehicle is a waste of resources. One fighter must divert from patrol, expend fuel and ammunition on a minimal target. 2 pilots ignore the opportunity. The third strafes once, misses, and returns to base rather than expend precious resources on negligible gain. Day 2, another 20 trucks depart. 19 complete their deliveries without incident. One driver, fatigued, crashes, resulting in a single vehicle loss instead of the multi-truck disasters common in convoys. Loss rate, 5%. Day 3, 22 trucks, 22 deliveries, 0 losses. By day 5, even the most skeptical colonels watch the unfolding statistics with stunned disbelief. Kowalski's method is reducing supply losses from 23% to less than 3%, a staggering 90% reduction, while simultaneously moving cargo faster than ever imagined. On September 7th, General Smith issues the official order. All Red Ball Express operations will immediately implement Kowalski's staggered individual dispatch protocols. Transformation occurs almost overnight. By mid-September, nearly 6,000 trucks abandon traditional convoys entirely. Depots operate around the clock, dispatching vehicles every 3 to 5 minutes rather than massing them into vulnerable formations. The results are extraordinary. Over the final 8 weeks of Red Ball Express operations, September through November 1944, supply losses dropped to 2.7%. Delivery speed increases by 32%. Supplies reaching Patton's Third Army and other forward units more than double. German after-action reports reflect growing frustration. A Luftwaffe squadron commander writes in October, "Allied supply trucks now operate with no predictable pattern. Individual vehicle interdiction is an inefficient use of our limited air resources. Recommend focusing fighter operations on tactical ground support rather than logistics harassment." Allied trucking has become economically untouchable. For every fighter sent after scattered trucks, one less plane defends against Allied bombers or supports ground troops. Germany simply cannot sustain the trade-off. Beyond statistics, the human impact is profound. The Red Ball Express, now fully employing Kowalski's method, delivers 412,193 tons of supplies in 82 days. Enough ammunition, fuel, and equipment to keep 6 Allied armies advancing across France and into Germany. Patton's Third Army alone receives sufficient fuel to drive from Normandy to the German border. Historians debate whether logistics or combat prowess determined the outcome in Europe. The truth is inseparable. Logistics made combat effective, and Kowalski's innovation made logistics sustainable. The method spreads across theaters. By November, Allied trucking operations worldwide adopt staggered dispatch. The British 8th Army in Italy reports similar results. Pacific theater planners evaluate the method for island-hopping operations. Captured German officers express incredulity. A staff officer near Aachen, when questioned about Allied trucking, shakes his head. "We cannot target what we cannot predict. Their trucks are everywhere and nowhere. Interception is a waste of fuel." Eisenhower receives the intelligence and marks the report. This sergeant's method is forcing the Germans to concede the logistics battle. Recommend formal recognition. November 18, 1944, 2 days after the Red Ball. Express officially ends. Technical Sergeant Raymond Kowalski receives the Bronze Star Medal for exceptional service in support of combat operations, credited specifically for his innovative logistics methods that drastically reduced supply losses and enhanced operational effectiveness. Returning to Pittsburgh in 1946, Kowalski goes back to driving trucks, the same work he did before the war. No books, no lectures, only a bronze star tucked away and memories of a few weeks in France where a single idea altered history. Yet the military does not forget. In 1947, the U.S. Army Transportation Corps formally adopts staggered dispatch as doctrine, teaching every logistics officer at Fort Lee about the Pittsburgh truck driver who rewrote convoy theory. Kowalski's principles persist through the Korean War, the Berlin Airlift, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Modern convoys avoid massed formations using dispersed timing, variable routes, and unpredictable patterns. GPS, satellite communication, and encryption enhance the strategy. But the core principle remains unchanged. Dispersal makes interdiction uneconomical, a principle Kowalski discovered on French roads with a notebook and a cigarette. Civilian logistics also owes its evolution to Kowalski. Modern just-in-time delivery, staggered scheduling, and distributed warehouse networks trace their roots back to him. Companies like Amazon, FedEx, and UPS operate continuously, dispersing shipments to maximize efficiency and resilience. They unknowingly leveraged the method of a World War II trucker who refused to accept that convoys were the only way. In 2003, the U.S. Army Transportation Museum at Fort Lee commemorates Kowalski and the Red Ball Express. His notebook, meticulously tracking convoy losses, sits in a display case alongside a photo of him by his GMC Jimmy, cigarette in hand, embodying a working-class hero who changed military history. A placard reads, "The best innovations often come not from commanders or theorists, but from those doing the work." Raymond Kowalski passed away in 1983, age 73. His obituary mentioned his Bronze Star, but little else. A quiet man, a retired truck driver. Yet his legacy endures in every military logistics course, in every analysis of Allied supply operations, in the very framework of modern supply chains. He reduced supply losses by 90%, accelerated deliveries, and proved that sometimes the craziest idea is simply the truth nobody wants to accept. Because one truck driver refused to believe convoys were the only way, the modern world moves more safely, efficiently, and unpredictably, saving lives and defeating enemies, one truck at a time.